how much have you been able to sort out of what is sort of ordinary widow grieving and what's being a 9/11 widow?
Yeah, I talk a lot about that in the book because it really was hard for me to sort out. At the beginning, I was meeting other widows and we would never talk about our husbands. We would never talk about how much we missed them. Instead, we were talking about, did you sign up for the Red Cross? Did you get this charity? Did you get that money? Did you, and it almost became sort of a competition. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so got, this gift from there was a gift from the Buddhists. It was surreal, and it was like if you knew that so-and-so was getting that, then you felt compelled to run out and go and sign up for it yourself, And it was so, there was something so wrong about that. And I would meet with them and then I'd leave and feel so disappointed because really what I wanted to talk about was, do you miss him? Like, how are you dealing with that? Are you sad? Do you cry in bed every night? I wanted the good, how are you coping? And what do you do when somebody says, what are you saying to people when somebody says, I'm sorry for your loss for the 900th time? How do you say something nice? And I didn't know that every time a check came in that I was supposed to write a thank you note. And finally I went over to another widow's house and she had all these lovely thank you notes all printed up, and it was sort of like a huge revelation to me that I didn't actually have to write every single one out by hand. It has been hard to separate the 9/11 thing, and then a lot of people assume that I'm very angry at bin Laden and the whole political aspect of it, and it's actually been really hard for me to be able to kind of visualize that whole thing happening, like the planes hitting the buildings. I think in a lot of ways I still think of the buildings as being part of a natural disaster, like an earthquake or something, and they fell down. It's just so impossible to conceive that somebody would do this much harm.
You go to a fair number of official engagements, politicians, and yet after each one you seem to come away from every ceremony kind of empty until you find your thing.
Some of the memorials were beautiful. There's a beautiful one in Ottawa. There's a beautiful one in London that we visited. So I realized it had nothing to do with the physical beauty of the memorial. I could not for the life of me figure out what it was. And finally I realized the problem was that because we didn't have a body, we didn't have a grave, or we didn't have ashes that we could sprinkle out on a lake. And I realized I had to come up with, kind of a substitute. And so Aaron called me Bird for various reasons, usually having to do with food, and lemon chicken and biryani chicken were his favorite dishes, so somehow my name was derived out of those. And so he also loved mosaic tiles, and he wanted to build a Turkish bath in our basement. A complete folly, but he was always building things like that. So I put the two together. I put the bird and the tiles and created a bird bath that I mosaic tiled. And inside the bowl of the bird bath, I created a butterfly that represented him and his transformation into the afterlife. And we saw a lot of butterflies after he died. I guess it was September, so it made sense. But of course, they were magical when we saw them. And I appear as a bird above his head. Our daughter, Olivia, she gets transformed into a green horse because he called her Pickle Horse. And our son on the right is a brown cow because he was bone maker. He drank so many bottles of milk. And actually it was Ovaltine, so I made it a brown cow. And then our dog, who is now a 14-year-old golden retriever, appears as herself down at his feet. And on the outside of the bowl, in the pedestal, I did daisies, because he always gave us daisies at Valentine's Day and things like that. And there's fish and there's other butterflies, and then I created a plaque to go on the front of it, and there's a little poem, and I created this memorial that we could go to whenever we wanted, and it honored him finally. And I also knew it would be movable because I knew that I would probably not be staying in New Jersey. And sure enough, I ultimately moved to Seattle, as far away from New Jersey as I could possibly get. And so the bird bath came with us, and it's there now.
It's quite something. You're a good writer and very brave. I mean, just the honesty in it. Every once in a while, I go, "Oh my God, I can't believe she just."
I know.
Just
yeah.
went there.
I think it was really important in a memoir to be that honest, because if you're not that honest, then the memoir comes across as not really being genuine, and you get the sense as you read it that something is being held back. And I also felt it was really important to get those universal stories out, because you know what? I mean, everybody's going to deal with loss at some point in their lives, and I'm hoping that this book is universal, so that even a loss such as divorce or losing a pet, that this will resonate with them, because it is a universal experience. And you do go through these angers, and it's hard. And I wished I'd had a book that had been this honest when I was going through it, so that at least I would know that what I was going through was kind of normal, and that other people went through it as well. And the other thing I hope is that people read it and realize that even in the blackest of black days, that they know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because there is.
The book is The Alchemy of Loss, A Young Widow's Transformation. I've been speaking with the author, Abigail Carter, and The Alchemy of Loss is published by McClelland and Stewart.